Chapter 13. Rescue. One deliberate choice made by the earliest settlers of Estolia was to both use the abundant caves in Mount Zacharias, but to also limit their use. The full extent of the caves was never recorded. It was decided, in the interests of safety, that some would be walled off, to keep citizens from being lost and wandering aimlessly, seeking the light of day. Rumors of hidden treasures persist to this day, secrets left to be discovered within the depths of both mountains. Treasure troves of wisdom from our forebears, the exquisite crafts and riches that were the cargo of the anchorman. Phoebe Zakarian, Inscrito. As they landed their third and final Anchuina, Zakarian heard a sound that made the hair on the back of his neck to stand up. A female voice, yelling, distressed. He and Omador both rushed to the far side of the sailboat, towards the horizon that was obscured by the sails. Another ship was traveling towards them. The colors of their flag indicated that it was Palmaran. More than half of the immigrants to Estolia originated in Palmara. Both Zakarian and Omador had learned the language from Sebastian. The smaller ship was parallel to theirs. The sailors worked to stop it from impacting their vessel. A woman ran along the deck, pursued by two sailors. She looked over her shoulder before climbing on the rail and diving into the swirling waters. Zakarian, alarmed, remembered the toothy fish that always accompanied Anchuina. She will be consumed by the Zitharafin. He ran towards the rail, while frantically scanning the water. Where was she? His heartbeat thundered in his ears as he held his breath, searching for any trace of her. There. He saw her. She couldn't swim. Several large fins were cutting the water in a straight line towards her. Without hesitation, he dropped his scabbard, pulled off his tunic, and climbed on the rail. Omador had enough time to say his name before he dove into the water. For Zakarian, his brother's words were not as important as saving this woman from certain death. She was struggling to stay afloat, clumsily, unskilled at swimming in the rough open sea. Her cries of distress were mixed with coughing as she swallowed seawater. The Anchuina were thick here, and he hoped that the Zitharafin would not be lurking too close. He embraced her just as her scream turned strident. He dove under the water, saw the Zitharafin brushing against her, toying with its meal. He remembered Antony's advice: they are cowards, and will flee from any attack. He punched the pointed nose of the fish approaching him. The monster swam away but immediately began to circle back. Zakarian ignored it, focusing on trying to help the woman. He pushed her back to the surface, tilting her head back so she would not swallow any more water. Spluttering and coughing, she nearly drowned him as she tried to remain above the surface. Both ships were closing the distance to where he was treading water with the girl half supported by his body. Omador shouted instructions to him that he could not comprehend. He focused only on the task he set for himself. By the time the Palmaran ship reached them, Zakarian had to resort to kicking the Zitharafin twice, his hands occupied with the woman. The third time he felt a raking pain on his calf and he was grateful to accept a hand up onto the other ship. Once on board, firm hands clapped over his injury. "You are bleeding badly," a cultured voice spoke to him in Palmaran. "Hold still while we try to stem the flow. Your rescue of my Novia must be rewarded." He tried to focus, but the sight of so much blood seeping around the fingers clasping his leg, coupled with the harrowing rescue, was one shock too many, and he passed out. When he regained consciousness, Omador and Markan were with him, treating his injury with the 3 soaps of cleanliness. While they worked, Zakarian sought to master his physical reactions, nausea and faintness, forcing himself to view the half-dozen triangular rips in his flesh. Silently, he thanked deity, knowing how voracious Zitharafin could be. He was lucky to be alive. After his prayer of thanksgiving, he took in his surroundings. They were on the small Palmaran ship, the much larger Dia de Promesa alongside, the ships secured to one another. Zakarian looked for the woman he saved. One man had the aura of power surrounding him, and, as Markan finished bandaging his leg, he approached. The stranger wore a dull red over tunic. It was newly fashionable to use the reds and yellows of certain fruits to dye lips and cheeks with bright unnatural coloring, employing chalk to create a contrasting pale base color. This man embraced these affectations. His beard was shaped around his mouth with his cheeks and jawline free of whiskers. His hat was adorned with several feathery plumes that must have come from a willow. Zakarian asked him in Palmyran, "Where is the woman? My betrothed is quite safe. I extend to you gratitude for your swift action. I fear she would have perished if you did not act so quickly to save her life." His smile did not reassure Zakarian. "I am Esteban, son of Madrigal, of Palmyra. This is my vessel, named Cinderellan. I am Omador and this is my brother, Zakarian. We are the sons of Zacharias and Estoliana," his brother stated. "And the woman I rescued?" Zakarian ignored the courtesy his brother tried to inject into the conversation. "She is safe. Secure. Attended by her maid. I am indebted to you for your quick actions." His voice was oily, his demeanor suspect. "She screamed and jumped into the water," he contradicted. "She was frightened. I must see her, ascertain her safety."